Thank you folks for clicking on the video. If you'd like to be informed when new videos go live, please hit that subscribe button and don't forget to hit that bell notification icon. Please feel free to like, comment, and share the video with family and friends, as it really does help the channel grow in the current YouTube algorithm structure. Argy mateys, welcome back to the Swamp Dog Games. For today we be going over Project Black Flag, playtest packet number 2. If you haven't heard the story behind the development of this game, let me fill ye in on a little tall pirate's tale. For there once were some evil wizards of the coast that threatened to take all the gamers' fun when they messed around with the holy text called the OGL, or Open Gaming License. For you see, they decided that no more should the game be owned by the players and the community. No, only their greedy pockets be allowed to make money, and you, the consumer, just be an obstacle between them and their profits. As the good legend once said, "Beck me for the grognards under the sky, AD&D for the neckbeards in their halls of stone. 3X for the geeks and gamers doomed to die. 1 D&D for the Williams on her dark throne in the land of Hasbro where the lawyers lie. 1 D&D to rule them all. 1 D&D to find them. One license to bring them all, and in the contract bind them. Deep in the OGL 2.0, where the fine print and the terms and conditions lie." I can't keep up with this accent anymore. Excuse me. Alrighty. But yeah, so lots of anger over the WotC OGL mess drove Cobalt Press to come out with their core fantasy role-playing game playtest. Now, originally in the playtest packet number 1, I said I wasn't going to make comments on this until the end of their playtest packets, that it all came out and we could see the end product. Honestly, in the first packet, you could already hear my disappointment in feeling like that all they're doing is just creating a cross between D&D 5th edition and Paizo's Pathfinder, with the sort of weird halfway between the two systems. And the playtest 1 packet just didn't really scream anything like, oh, so wonderful that I needed to play, and actually kind of made me worry about the direction that they were going with this. This playtest packet hasn't done anything to alleviate my fears, and in fact has actually either directly concerned me or honestly pissed me off in general. This one is less between the two systems than the first one was. The genuine system in here that they've introduced that I do like is their new luck system. This replaces the inspiration system that D&D 5e uses. It's essentially, it can be used like inspiration, but it also can be used to either add points directly to a roll to try to overcome a bad roll. Maybe you just need to add a couple numbers to get it past the threshold, or you can spend 3 luck to completely re-roll the die if you need to, because you failed that badly. Luck, similar to inspiration, is garnered either after or after like a really epic role-playing scenario like inspiration. If you suggested such an amazing action to take, the game master could reward you with inspiration for it. Here you can do that, get inspiration for really clever or exciting role-playing ideas. Luck can be awarded similar to XP for task accomplishment purposes, or can be given out once per turn for failed attack rolls or saves. So it's kind of a halfway cross between some other systems that give out XP for failure bonuses to level up your player. This luck kind of works as a halfway between that and can be used to override it. It does have a maximum luck that you can bank at 5. I'm not sure, having not had a chance to play this yet, how the cap at 5, to me, my gut instinct feels kind of low. However, the fact that they have, because you get it for once per turn for failed attack rolls or failed saves or failed action rolls that you get it, um, there needs to be a hard cap. The system that they've implemented is that if you go over the 5 luck that you're allowed to bank, then you have to roll a d4 and your luck defaults down to that lower number. I do kind of like that. It's kind of like how I hated when MTG went away from mana burning and you had to manage your mana resources much more cleverly. This system reminds me of that, where you have this cool resource that you can burn, but you don't want to bank it so much that you risk losing it. And so it does encourage the players to actually keep using a little bit of it, otherwise they'll lose it all. And so they don't keep banking it up, and get like 1,000 luck for when you're trying to get the boss battle conducted. Now here, it did confuse me a little bit when they say that our internal playtesters thought the system looked too clunky and difficult to manage on paper. They said that they found it fast-paced and easy to use when they actually got the chance to play with it. Yeah, I am confused how in the hell your playtesters thought this system was clunky. This luck burning this luck using mechanic that they've introduced. It is not clunky by any stretch of the imagination. It makes me worried about who on earth is your internal testing team if they find this clunky. This system is very similar to reward for failure RPGs, like I believe Blades in the Dark uses that, where you fail a task, you get XP to level up your character for to help balance out the encounter. This is sort of a halfway point between that and the inspiration system. I do like the system. I think I will implement this in other RPGs that I play. Maybe not some of the OSR stuff because they need to be kept at the higher difficulty, but if you're going for a power fantasy RPG game, this is not that clunky, this is not that hard. I'm not sure necessarily that only allowing the players to bank 5 when they have to spend 3 to actually re-roll an entire die is, to me, that sounds off the top of my head perhaps a little bit punishing, that maybe there should be a higher upside, like maybe allow them to bank 10, and that particularly since they have to announce if they're burning luck to increase the roll on a die before the game master even does it. So it encourages them, let's say they roll a 10. They have an idea that the AC is probably around the 15 to 16 mark, so they'll burn 7 to make sure that they get 17, so they can know out of the 10 to make sure that they know they can pass it, or risk re-rolling it once by burning 3 and could possibly roll in a critical failure situation. So I feel the luck, on my initial assumption, having not played it for balance, needs to be higher, but having then a punishing mechanic for them banking too much of it at once, like have 10, and then if they go over 10, then they have to roll 1d10. So it's really super punishing for if they don't use it, they lose it mechanic, is my initial gut instinct for this, but this is not clunky by any stretch of the imagination. The rest of this is all dedicated to classes, as we're familiar with it. This only includes the fighter and the wizard. There's nothing spectacularly different about how they handle in this game compared to core D&D 5th edition. They change around some of the names of the traits, so instead of like combat styles, they call them disciplines in here. It's just different skills that roughly do the same thing. They may decide, instead of have your fighter become a samurai and learns botany, instead he becomes a strategist and learns how to write haikus or something like that. It's not going to be a direct one-to-one, but you can tell it's made from the same cloth. These classes, they are not deviating drastically from the core concepts of D&D itself. Though you can see that they are expanding some of the combat options. Again, if you're familiar with Pathfinder 2nd Edition, it looks like they're trying to create sort of that halfway point between D&D and Pathfinder. There's nothing here that's alien. With everything that they've presented so far, I don't see why you need a rule set per se. You could probably do a $15 conversion supplement, I think would be a better use of time. Now, that's also out of personal opinion, because at one point I had thought of writing and selling an actual supplement to do sort of a halfway between D&D 5th edition and Paizo's Pathfinder 2nd edition. I just don't see turning this into a full rule set how you don't end up with kind of a heartbreaker situation where there's not enough original differentiating content between the two systems to draw enough people from either to power this as a major RPG rule set going forward, in my opinion. Again, things that kind of are overlap if you're familiar with Pathfinder 2nd Edition, nothing I haven't seen before, and that doesn't really revolutionize D&D 5th Edition too much, in my opinion. This, however, is where I got really upset with this playtest, and I don't know what they were thinking of this crap. So, bear in mind, unless I missed something in here, that I overlooked a sentence that explains the purpose of this, this is the danger of doing playtest packets like this when you don't have an explanation for why you're engaging in certain design philosophies. This does nothing to change core D&D's Vancian magic system. Okay, you don't want to change Vancian magic, fine. Why are you putting this unnecessary complication on top of it, however? Like, when you start here, I thought they were overhauling the system. The first ring, second ring through ninth ring, okay, this is spell levels. So instead of calling them spell levels, they're calling them rings. Okay, I can get that. You can't call them spell levels. Call them spell rings. Makes sense as a third-party supplement. Then, however, you get into this arcane circles of magic. There's 4 circles of magic that represent the 4 primary sources of fuel that power the abilities of spellcasters. Oh, I see this. It talks about conversion from 5th edition spells into these 4. You have the arcane circle, the divine, the primordial, the weird circle. The first impression I got is, oh, they're getting rid of necromancy, conjugation, illusion, and instead just bringing it into these 4 broad magic circle components. Okay, I can handle that. I don't think it's necessary, but it makes sense. Get that system gone, which does have some issues, and create your own 4-circle system for explaining the powers of magic. But then they go in here and you find out instead, no, they're keeping all of the traditional schools of magic that you're familiar with: abjuration, conjugation, divination, enchantment, evocation, illusion, necromancy. So is this then just supposed to be then the differences between arcane, divine magic, and they call it primordial and weird magic? Then what is this system for? And then even in your own spells, however, you then have it go like Magic Missile, where it's the first level ring of the arcane circle, but then in parenthesis evocation. Why? It just seems to me complication of a already clear system. D&D does not have a patent on wizard spells, on clerical spells, on druid spells. That's all I can figure is that this crap is just complicating an already simple system unnecessarily. And why then? When you have these conversions, it would seem to indicate that you're getting rid of instead the schools of magic, and instead it's just, no, we're going to strangely divvy up wizard from clerical to ranger to druid magic in a bizarre way and it's like, what are you doing? I am not a fan of what they're doing to the magic system. This makes no sense. Again, first ring, okay, you can't have first level spells. Okay, name change, no big deal. But with this, either you're overcomplicating something that was already simple and doesn't need to be drawn out in this bizarrely complicated way. You don't need to rename it, particularly after Wizards authorized the Creative Commons license for SRD 5.1. There's no need to overcomplicate a system just because you want to attach your weird orc license to this. I am not a fan of the direction this is going. I cannot see enough difference between this. If you just need a conversion between the two modules. You already have your D&D games for D&D gamers, those books. You already have Pathfinder books for the Pathfinder nerds. Figure out some sort of middle ground conversion packet. You don't need a full set of rules that complicate what is otherwise handled as a straightforward RPG in either of those other two systems. You instead try to combine them together and overcomplicate the mess. There's just no point in this booklet. And if this is the direction that they're going, where they're just going to tack on complications where they don't need to exist, just so that they can attach their new orc license that hasn't even been tested yet, I don't see where the value proposition in this is at all. If you want a new RPG game to play and you don't want to play Dungeons and Dragons anymore but want kind of a different game, like on Kickstarter right now, they have the new Shadow Dark series. You can get the both Shadow Dark Players Quick Starter and the Dungeon Masters Quick Starter. Now that game shows enough of a difference to be interesting. It's sort of a halfway point between D&D 5th edition and Knave 2.0 from Questing Beast, or Ben Milton's game, Knave. There's an example of where you have a middle ground between two highly distinctive different systems and create a middle ground that makes sense for players that might not be willing to fully be in either camp. There's enough uniqueness in that middle ground. There's enough difference between those two extremes that you can have products operating in that middle region. This, however, it's barely between the two and can easily be homebrewed, and probably homebrewed a lot better and a lot less complicated than this would be. Again, this Lux system has no need to be to have an entire rule book dedicated to providing luck in the system. A quick supplement guide for $2 on DriveThruRPG could have been enough to explain this, as well as maybe a conversion guide for turning some of the D&D 5th edition classes into a halfway Paizo's Pathfinder 2e class structure, where you have the multi-classing through the primary and then that secondary class system that they use would make sense. This is, I don't know. It's devolving into a rant in this point, and that's kind of my opinion on Project Black Flag at the moment. I don't see where this is unique enough, where there's enough space between Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition and Paizo 2nd edition for this to occupy a middle space. It's, at best, deserves a conversion guide supplement for $10, an entire core rule set. I think they are going to be well outpaced by better systems than this. Particularly if they want to try to court the OSR community. if you want a good upcoming game to get away from D&D 5th edition, as I said, Shadow Dark is becoming really popular. I like what I see in that game. That halfway point between Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition and Knave from Ben Milton is a huge gap in how the systems operate. And a middle ground product like Shadow Dark makes sense. Give your money to that. Give your hopes to Shadow Dark if you want a good product. Not paid, not affiliated. Don't know any of the people personally. Just from my experience in product development, this to me just does not seem like such a unique space that such a unique product like this, or niche product like this, can find really that large of a market space in between two existing titans like 5th edition and Pathfinder 2nd edition are. Now, I could be wrong. I don't have business experience in the TTRPG community. If they have other data that says Wizards has so thoroughly alienated their customer base that they won't even play D&D 5th edition anymore, let alone before even considering the idea of them going to 6th edition, that maybe this can pull off some of those 5th edition players. I just don't see it happening, but yeah, I think this is going to be a flash in the pan, while other more unique systems with actual wider market ability space to operate in are going to quickly surpass Project Black Flag going forward. I'll still keep reviewing these as they come out, but my hopes for the system have been dashed quite significantly at this point. But if you want an RPG that won't dash all of your hopes and dreams, you can go into the pinned comment down below. There's a link for Castles and Crusades. That is an OSR style game built kind of off of a D&D 3.5 edition. That one is currently in a humble bundle for a huge discounted price. You get the core rulebook, the monsters manual, and a ton of other adventures and good content. And it's a good RPG system. It's popularly told that Gygax, before he passed, said that Castles and Crusades is the true spiritual successor to how he in how D&D should have gone had he not lost control of the company. And so get yourself a good RPG there, or not affiliated, not related to any of the people, but get yourself onto the Shadow Dark Kickstarter list and at least download the player's guide and the GM handbook that are free on DriveThruRPG to do a quick dive into how the Shadow Dark plays. That one will be a more unique RPG to dive into in your search for a non-Wizards RPG than this will, in my opinion. IMO. So, I'll see you next time as we get more reviews out this week, as I'm trying to balance my review schedule and my studying schedule better. You should be getting a couple reviews off of Basic Fantasy this week. Otherwise, see you all next time. And remember, may all your rolls... Ooh, a 19. Yes, almost. So close. We passed. See you next time.